So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another Bulletmarv video. So today, we're going to be taking a quick look at one of my favourite the first ever console that I owned, and one of my favourite consoles of all time in this video. I'm going to be going through some of the specs with you, as well as talking about 4 games on the system that I believe that everyone should own on the system. And in this video you will see gameplay as well. So, sit back and enjoy. The Sega Master System is an 8-bit console released by Sega back in 1987 in Europe. The Sega Master System is a reworked version of the Sega Mac 3, which was only released in Japan back in 1986. Supporting a Zilog Z80 CPU clocked at 4 MHz, it had 8 KB of RAM and graphics and sound chips produced by Yamaha. The console could show up to 32 colours on screen with maximum resolution of 256 by 192. Games on the system came in 2 formats, the game cartridge or on the Sega My Card. The Sega Master System sold around 13 million units worldwide, most of them numbers coming from Europe and Brazil, where the Master System was the most dominant, while in Japan and North America it did flounder and literally didn't do very well, mainly due to the NES's dominance there. The Sega Master System can output RF and composite video signals, but most importantly, it can output RGB through SCART, which is the clearest video signal you can possibly get on old systems. In 1990, Sega released a more budget-oriented option, a stripped-down version of the Master System to go alongside the release of the Mega Drive, called the Sega Master System 2. They removed the Sega My Card functionality, as well as only leaving you with an RF input, meaning it is probably the least favourite console to get due to that image quality problem. All Sega Master Systems do include a game on the system, like Snail Maze, Hang On, or Alex Kidd in Miracle World, or Sonic the Hedgehog. Hope you enjoyed a little bit of the intro there. So, just a few quick notes about the Sega Master System as well. So, one of the things that I failed to mention, which I'll show you now, is that unlike the NES, and this is one of the downfalls of this system, is that you don't have a pause button on the controller, you don't have a start or select. The pause button is actually found on the system, as you saw on the video there as well, which does make it a bit inconvenient, especially in adventure style games like Lord of the Sword, Wonder Boy 3 and the Dragon's Trap, Ease, stuff like that, where you need the pause button to access menus. So you have to kind of get up and press the button, which is a bit of a pain, to be honest, and is one of the biggest blemishes on this system as well. Also, the controller, while quite unique, I personally quite like the controller. I find it very comfortable and easy to use. The only downside that I have to this is that the controller does tend to feel a little bit mushy, especially the D square or something like that I would call it. Just feel a little bit mushy, but the buttons feel absolutely great. I would have preferred though the buttons to be concave instead of convex as well. Other accessories though that you could get on the system, you could get a steering wheel, like a little steering rack thing, and also you could get the Sega Light Phaser, which is the light gun on the system as well. It is a very cool looking light gun. The only thing is, obviously, with modern displays, you're not able to use it. You need to use it on a old CRT style TV, and it needs to preferably have like a bubble screen for the best results with that. So let's start out with the game that was built into my original childhood Sega Master System, Alex Kidd in Miracle World. You play as Alex Kidd in the side-scroller platform game. In this game, you can collect money to help you buy special items to help you in your quest, such as power rings and vehicles. You must defeat the evil Janken and the Great and his men to save the world of Red Axiom. While your main attack is a punch with a very limited range, you can also pick up, as I mentioned earlier, power rings that will shoot a sonic boom style attack. Also, you can ride in vehicles such as a little pedal helicopter, which has a gun which you can just fire, as well as a motorcycle which moves very quick and allows you to jump over stuff, as well as just run through enemies without getting hurt. At the end of some stages though, you fight a boss in true typical side-scroller fashion. The difference with this one is that you must defeat them playing Janken, or as it's more popularly known around the world, rock, paper, scissors. Overall, the game is bright, fun, has a great soundtrack on it, a lot of fun to play. The only thing that lets it down is the jumping mechanics and the landing mechanics. It can seem very slippery when moving about, but once you get used to them, it's fantastic. But overall, the game is definitely great to play and a must-have for any person in their Sega Master System collection. The next game on the list is Sonic Chaos, released in 1993. This is the third Sonic game on the system. It's a typical Sonic game. You go through 3 acts over a number of different levels until you get to an end boss, which you have to battle, and you battle through a number of them before reaching Dr. Robotnik. It runs like your typical Sonic the Hedgehog game as well. One of the nice features in this one is the fact that you can speed dash as well, which you could do in Sonic 2 on the Master System, but you couldn't do in Sonic 1. So it was a nice feature still to have kept over. This game really pushes the system to the limit in the way of graphics. The graphical quality of it is just outstanding, which does mean it leads to the main problem with the game, is that if there are a lot of enemies on screen, or there is a lot of stuff going on, you do get a lot of slowdown as well. And one of the other cool features of the game is that you can choose from either Sonic or Tails as well, which is a nice thing to have, because even in Sonic 2, which introduced Tails on the Master System, you could only play as Sonic, so it's nice to be able to play as Sonic or Tails in the game. This game, while it was only released in Europe initially, it was ported very quickly to the Sega Game Gear worldwide. So that's probably going to be the easiest way forward, say, importers to play it would be on the Sega Game Gear. While it is a great game, it does run better on the Game Gear, and you don't get much of that slowdown as well. This is easily, has to be, one of the must-have games on the system. Moving on from Sonic Chaos, the next game I would like to show you is Zillion 2. This game was released in 1988, and this game, quite obviously from the title, is the sequel to Zillion. Where this game differs from the original is that the original is more of a action adventure type game where you can freely look around stages, solve puzzle to open up new areas. Think of Metroid in that respect. While this game is it's a mix between two genres more than all. So the first stage and every other stage after that is a horizontal shooter, and then the next stage is a action platformer. So In the horizontal shooter stages, you ride on the tri-formation, so it's like a motorcycle but with a laser. And you can level that up, pick up health and everything of that nature with that. After leveling it up a certain number of times, it will transform into a flying mech called the Armator, something like that, I believe it's called, which does make these levels pretty much a cakewalk. You can struggle a lot on these levels because the bike can move quite fast, and it can become overwhelming when trying to kill enemies when there's about 3 or 4 on the screen, and your firepower isn't the most fastest thing ever. But after finishing these levels, you then will go to a action platform stage. So you run through the level, shooting enemies. You're able to go in rooms, shoot more enemies, get items like, you know, health, stuff like that as well. And, you know, just run through the end, fight maybe a boss at the end as well with them. While the game graphically looks pretty good, one of the best things about it though is the fact that you don't get a lot of slowdown when it does throw a lot of enemies on screen, which is brilliant at all and really a benefit for the Master System in that respect. It didn't get any slowdown from that, which is pretty good. But also, it's got a great thumping soundtrack, which goes well with the setting as well with that. I do recommend finding this game if you can. I believe this is one of the more harder games to get hold of, but it's not an overly expensive game if you do. And I do believe that this is a must-own on the system. The last and final game I would like to show to you is The Lucky Dime Caper starring Donald Duck. This game is from 1991. It is an action platformer starring Disney's very own Donald Duck. In this game, the evil Magica Dispel has stolen Scrooge's McDuck's #1 dime and has kidnapped his nephews, Huey, Dewey and Louie. Donald Duck embarks on a mission travelling around the world to save his 3 nephews and recover Scrooge's lucky dime. The game consists of jumping and attacking the enemies, pretty much, in the same vein as Mickey Mouse's Castle of Illusion. But the difference in this game is that you attack enemies using your hammer or using flying discs. In the game you can collect stars which help your attacks become a lot more faster. So generally when you start out, the hammer attack is quite slow and you do have to time it quite precisely. You fight various enemies along the levels, and each enemy is specialised for that level, so it matches it perfectly. So there's, like, you know, a woodland theme, a city theme, various things like that. And also the music that goes along with it is just perfect. It's chirpy, bouncy and fun. The game, in my opinion, looks very good, mainly due to the bright colours and the great animation and the great scrolling in the game. This game is a joy to play, and it is one of the more cheaper and more readily available games on the system. So, hope you enjoyed them. They're just 4 games that I think that everyone should play on the system. As for game boxes, most games came in cases like so. So you can always tell them by the checkerboard patterns. Other games might have different colours on them. So like Portuguese and Brazilian tech toy releases will have a Sega Master System logo on the side, and it'll be blue, and it'll be a blue cartridge instead of the red grid cartridge in there as well. As I say, you can get games on card as well. So the game that you saw in the intro there was Hang On, but you got other games like Teddy Boy, Ghost House, I believe F16, Interceptor, that's on there as well. There's a few other card games. The card games are generally the hardest ones to get because they're the ones that easily went missing, and it's very hard to get them in the box. So if you ever do see them out in the wild or at a convention, I would recommend getting them if you don't already. But I hope you enjoyed the video there on the first ever console that I owned, and one of my all-time favourite consoles. I have such a love for this system, and when getting back into retro gaming and everything, one of my goals is to get a complete Master System collection, because there's so many great games on there for so many genres, yet there isn't as much as the NES, and some of the games might not be as polished, but I do recommend hunting them out if you can. There are a lot of unique titles on there and a lot of worthwhile games, especially the Sonic games on there. Sonic 1 and Sonic 2 on there are just some of the best, and as I mentioned, Sonic Chaos is probably the tippity top for that. A lot of the games up you can get actually on the Game Gear, because the Game Gear is a slightly more powerful Master System but portable, so a lot of the Master System games did actually get ported to that, and you can also get adapters so you can play Master System games on the Game Gear. So if you like this video, like it. If you dislike it, dislike it. Feel free to leave a comment in the section below about some of your favourite Master System games. Or, you know, if you like my video or whatever. Stay tuned for more videos. There might be one coming up next week, due to me going to the Play Expo this weekend on the 28th of October, which, P.S., if you are there, come up and say hello. It's my birthday that day. And if you want to see more of the videos, just feel free to subscribe. You can follow me on like Twitter and on my Facebook group as well. So, as I say at the end of every video, keep on gaming.